Alright, let's talk about mechs. You see, as of recently, most of you might be familiar with the mech games in form of Armored Core. As of recently, it's been a pretty popular one. It came around through Game Awards. So, we all know a little bit about mecha games. Big mech, big guns, high octane sometimes, and in general just big machines fighting big machines. Now, what if there was something a bit more colorful? In case you weren't fond of the gray, grimy type of Armored Core 6. Well, there's Mecha Break. At the time of recording, it is still an open beta up until the 13th of August. So if this is seen afterwards, sorry, the closed beta is closed, obviously, and we'll have to wait for the game to come out. But this is gonna be pretty much a review of all the mechs and all the sort of gameplay loop, I suppose would be a term. Keep in mind, this is me giving you my opinionated review. But if you, I'm not by any chance getting into this like in details and everything. So keep in mind that is still a bit of a. I'm not an analyst. I'm more of a feeling, like you get the gist of it type of person. So starting off with, Mecha Break is at the moment a 6v6 mecha multiplayer game. So you'll see. I'll put background footage of this so you can see. It's pretty much at the moment what was in the beta was 6v6, and it could either be capture points or get the keys from 3 different points. And once they're generated, you pick it up and carry it to the rocket, and you get points that way. Or you dismantle objectives, or you basically just go to an objective, press F on it. Either it gets destroyed, so you get a point for it, or you capture the point that gives you the points as time goes on. Or it's team elimination. It's 6v6. You get killed, you are eliminated permanently unless you're revived through a beacon, or you lose or win till the next round. And so that's pretty much it. At the moment, that's what is in the beta. So far, the maps are okay-ish. Some of them are pretty small, some of them are very like close quarters, but then you have a few open ones which are also giving you a lot of room for it. And overall, at least for me, it's pretty okay. Albeit a few outliers will be a bit of a but more or less. So let's begin with a bit of quirks here in this case. So you do have a character creation to begin with. You would have a character to create, mind you. I went with generic Mecha Man, number 3347567, and you could of course get a female one as well. Looks like they are planning to have custom, like I guess bundles of specific pilots and their mech skins, I guess would be the term, and not too bad, all things considered. So, and of course you can customize your mech as well. You can color it. You will get colors as well. There will be a battle pass, and at least that's what I'm seeing in the beta. That is, mind you. So things could change very quickly. Now, as for some things here, I'm gonna segue this into talking about mechs in a bit, going in their order that they were in, not specific order. That way, to give you the gist of it. So that's pretty much it for the general game in this case. Not much of a story left there. You're just kind of like a pilot fighting on a planetary service for whatever reason. They might expand on it, they might not. There's some bit of voice acting in terms of, like, I guess voice lines during the match or voice lines during the selection screen. So, not much me to say at the moment. It's beta at the end of the day, so hopefully when the game comes out soon, we'll get a bit more. Alright, so let's start off with the mechs. So the first one is the main character, as I would like to call him, because he's the first mech you see in the game. So I'll call him the main character for the sake of reference. And plus, I hate the life out of him. Elysinus, attacker, and he's basically your fuck people up type of guy. As you can see, so he's got his base form does have a shield in a rifle, but also Gauss. Not to mention also got a laser blade, mind you. And his whole shtick is to fuck you up and fuck up your armor. What he's actually also good about is also being an outright dick. And also not liking to die. You think you have Elysius down, he will not die. Why? Because he has a second form. Or rather, additional armor that will dissipate and he will turn to a much lighter form when he is inevitably almost killed. Thus, all he needs to do is kind of just not die too quickly, and he is basically never gonna die in a match. And as you're seeing in the background, there's a lot of flavor animation for these. Like, personally, like, I would say the flavor, I suppose, but they definitely didn't have to go this stylish on this, but they did anyway. And I appreciate that for them. So yeah, you right now see basically this is the mecha break sort of movement. If you haven't seen it, of course, mind you, it does feel a bit slower than what you'd probably get into Armor Core with, but you kind of get used to it. So see, this form basically is your main form, and if you are to be destroyed in this form, you would effectively get a second try on it. You basically get a lighter form to work with, and this halberd here, in his case, is anti-armor. It will break up armor. There'll be the squares on the side. You have your HP, you have your energy. Energy is your godsend. If you don't have energy, well, tough shit, baby. You're gonna need it. As you can see, base speed is a bit jarring to kind of see, but you kind of get used to it eventually, and of course it. As you can see, if I expend all my energy, it's gonna be painful. It's gonna be painful. It is painful. Do not run out of energy. You have your shield as well. As you can see, the additional blue bar on the left is your shield, and it will have a. It's mostly against melee attacks, but it does work against ranged as well. And of course, if you perfectly block an enemy melee attack, you will open them to a counter, which you can kind of exploit. So that is Elysius. He's an outright dick. All he does two things. One, he fucks up your armor, he fucks up your shit, and makes it annoying for you to fight him. But he's overall a good one to start with. I can see why they kind of went for this as a starter. But nonetheless, it is something to be kind of looking at. Now then, up until next one. We got Falcon, the light attacker. Falcon is a plane. He will never stop being a plane. He will forever be a plane. This skin in particular, which it was in the open beta, is it's a part of a palette bundle, which comes with its own pilot basically. But to summarize it, as you can see, a lot of wings, a lot of jets. So he is the plane. So that is what you're getting at from Falcon. He's got little dinky autocannons, but he is speed. As you can see, this will also give you a general out view of what you're looking at. And when it comes to weapons, he rocks missile launcher on his base form, and he also has a recon drone, which lets him detect stealth enemies. There is a few enemies that can benefit from stealth, mind you. But overall, it's there. And then you have your winged form, which gives you a lot more mobility, a lot more aerial sort of tools to work with. And also with that comes heavy missile launch, which is bigger, better rockets. So to give it as you can see, you can go full Transformers and kind of just channel your inner Transformer. Not to mention, in his flight form, his autocannons do gain more capabilities. There are more fire rate, more magazine. In general, just become better, so you are encouraged to play in a winged form. You also have your speed, you can speed up, but don't forget you still have energy to run with that you will still run out of eventually, but nothing can replenish by stopping by and kind of just keeping it slick. So that's pretty much it for Falcon. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, nothing much to him. He's kind of like a harasser. He's there to mess up your backline, he's there to mess up your wounded friends and allies. Just gotta be a menace in the backline. Well, not really a menace, more like just annoyance. You can definitely run your fade if you're not careful enough. But let's move on to something a bit more substantial. When I say a little, I mean a lot. This is the go-to weapon. This is Tricera. Do I need to explain anything more? No. This is you got a minigun. You get another minigun. In the back, you get a howitzer. Your entire shtick is you're a turret. You are an objective-based mech. If you're playing an objective, this is what you play. You don't rush. You don't flank. You just find the objective. You go there. That's it. Everything else is their problem now. I mean, jokes aside, though, it is one of the slowest and also one of the heaviest mechs in the game. So he comes with a lot of self-sustain, essentially. So he is slow as shit. He has 2 sets of miniguns. So Armor Core fans, you finally get your dream mech. It does everything you want it to. It shoots minigun bullets. You can also manually reload this as well. So you want to top up your mag? There you go. Now number 2 puts into Fortress mode, which gives it a small shield. It gives it a few small shields that block enemy and melee attacks. So you can use this to kind of just pop goes the weasel on them. And not to mention, along with everything, you can also use your artillery gun, which you can use while standing without the Fortress mode, but you have to still stop when you use it. So you might as well go into Fortress mode most of the time. And should you be somehow wounded, and dare I say, distressed about your living situation, you have self-repair. You've been given a self-repair option, so therefore, you are most certainly covered in every single facet of survival. Not much you can do this mid-air, so let's just say you're cruising over. Let's just say you're cruising over somewhere. Hop-de-doo, hop-de-duh. Oh no, I'm getting shot at. There's something coming at me. Whoop-bop. So you can see, Tricera is big boy. It does not. There's no joke. There is no there's no catchphrase. There's no inside joke. He's big. He's chonk. That's why he'll probably. That's why he have to, one of my only MVP screens is from a Tricera. There isn't, because half the job you is just gonna be thrown at you anyway. Now, again, pretty good. Again, I don't see any issue with most of these mechs, mind you. Personally, this is not a good case of just you want to play the objective. This is the thing. Now on to the next one. We got Narukami. Now, mind you, some of you may know this mech for different reasons. I will not judge. I will not say nothing. All I can say is, appearance-wise, it is interesting, on par. And this is the sniper, the light sniper mech. So what she does is basically, she's basically the Widowmaker. So let's say you want to climb up there. Let me see, actually. So she can go climb up high walls and stuff, and you have a sniper rifle that charges up just like Widowmaker, for example, for those to reference Overwatch in this case, and you get that charge up. She also gets invisibility. She has a bubble of invisibility, which works on allies as well, or you have a drone that puts in a decoy, and you have that as well. So yeah, pretty much nothing too simple. You can fire it without the scope. Not to mention your drone, those decoy as well fires. So overall, pretty much light sniper, very squishy. I have definitely killed many of these in like few swings, few attacks or whatever. But overall, it is also quite deadly. So also pretty light, but that's the basic shtick. Invisibility, can't be targeted so easily, and overall can pretty much deal heavy damage if you don't deal with it quick enough. Not much to say. Sniper. You all know what snipers are. We hate them. We love them. You get to brag about their skill, but that's more or less it. That's Narukami. Now we have the domestic abuse case, which is called the Vulcan. Now the brawlers are basically what you'd expect. They're melee, they're up close, they're a problem in your face. Now Vulcan is a bit of an interesting case for this. Vulcan is very chunky, he's also very slow. He's like on like the top 3, top 5 slowest mechs. That doesn't really help him that much, but point is, he's got a specific playstyle, which lends him to a very funny / bully method of playing. And what I'm trying to say is, to kind of summarize it, he's got a big axe, he has a howitzer as a ranged alternative, which also reduces armor. Some attacks also reduce armor, basically, which is called fluid armor. Mind you, I'm kind of not going into super detail about this because, again, I'm probably going to have to make this video again when the game finally releases, because they're probably going to tweak something or change it, but just in case, it's better for me just to make another video later when they've redone the whole thing. And so, in this display now, so basically, Vulcan plays a simple way, more or less. He's heavy, he's brutish, so your main sort of choice of weaponry is to put people in you have a box shield that prevents people from getting in or out. So your teammates can still probably shoot in, and the enemy team can shoot the box shield to break it. But for the person inside, you basically put him in the Thunderdome, and you get to beat the life out of him in the next 20 to 30 seconds. So he's basically just puts you in a box and beats the life out of you. He has two abilities. He has what is effectively a flashbang, which flashes you anything in front of him, making it screen very fuzzy and hard and unable to target anything automatically, and overall just kind of dazing you basically. And his third ability is small boomerang sides basically, which hover around you, and if they lock in on a target, they will attack the target in question. So that's pretty much that for the. So for frame reference in this case, I should have done it sooner, but oh well. But just to kind of give you an idea of some of these, I mean, most of these didn't really have any sort of. So for reference, this is how a Vulcan would deal with an issue. You basically just put him in a box and beat the life out of him. And this also showcases Elysian's ability to not fucking die. As you can see. Sure, he's very squishy afterwards, but he's also very fast afterwards. But that's more or less besides the point. But that's pretty much it. So as you can see, his howitzer also destroys armor, which is the white screen with the white squares on your bar. So that is armor that can be regenerated, that reduces damage, but also, again, and also melee bypasses that armor altogether. And another thing for Vulcan to do is to spin around. So this is another method of Vulcan mains to maximize their damage by spinning to win. For those Warframe players, we sure know how spinning to win works. Now then, on to the next one. Lumine, a support. Now Lumine is very simple. Or actually no, rather a bit tricky to kind of describe. Lumine is pretty much the mercy token. I guess I'd say it would be mercy token character of the game, and that's pretty much the best core example in this case. Now, as you can see, she's very light, so she's very mobile. She has a few set of abilities, so her cannons have two modes, or her overall kit has two modes. So the healing mode, you get to shoot drones on either yourself or your teammate to repair over time. And her second ability gives you energy and mobility up. Those are the wings, flared up. Her first ability is an AoE heal, which is pretty good for teammates as well, and that's much it for her shtick. And now her second mode is the corrupted mode, or rather the gremlin aggression mode. In this mode, she can damage enemies, and by flinging those same drones into the enemies to deal damage over time to erode both, well, mostly just health. So bypassing fluid armor, the armor entirely, and just dealing damage like that, which for tankier mechs is not really useful, while for smaller mechs and lighter mechs, like for example Falcon and other Lumines, for example, this would be pretty good, because that way you don't really have to worry about range or accuracy, you just have to keep them in this square, so anytime in this square damage is on them, they'll be kept, and even if you leave them be, they'll still get damage, so fire and forget. And as for the corrupted mode, wings, they basically do more or less the same thing for you, still give you the mobility and everything up, but for the enemies, let me just take a look. Actually, I need to check those, I forget. So for the crafted mode, it disrupts enemy fire control within range, and that's pretty much it. So it kind of debuffs the enemy in exchange, not by much, mind you, but... And let me just see here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And as for the... let me just see here. So that's more or less about it. Basically, so that's a little bit it. Pretty simple, pretty user-friendly. Personally, I like to use this mech when I'm playing support. It is very funny to just kind of inconvenience people a little bit. As for support, mostly, it's kind of like a weird sort of situation where you're mostly either going to be, I guess, killing the enemy fast enough, or just kind of just... or either you don't really have to, at the moment, focus on support too much. Mind you, I'm only playing, like, not too intensive ones. Not too intensive matches. So, again, that might change, but at the moment, Illuminate's pretty much my go-to support if I feel like it. It just does everything I needed to. Plus, I get to be a little bit of a gremlin. So, that's a benefit. Now, next up on our list is Hurricane. Now, Hurricane is a big lad. He also comes from the line of ultra heavy defenders, but unlike Tricera, he does not do burnt. He does inconvenience. He doesn't like to die in a more legitimate way. So along with having a shield, he also has a lot of disruption type of situation where he can be targeted, not manually not automatically that is. So he has a decoy drone, which basically is gonna retake that aggro. Basically, your automatic targeting system will target this drone, this little shield that pops up before, and that way you can immediately keep targeting. He can just kind of stand there. You can still shoot that drone until that shield pops off, and then you can then target him back again, which is gonna take a lot of time away from you. And when it comes to his abilities, the next one up is the field drone, which is a AoE shield, which he places down, and pretty much okay for objectives. He gets to play that game, so you have to get in close to him pretty much if you're a melee guy. And if you're anyone else, you kind of have to shoot a shield. Next up, you have a turret drone, and it is meant to basically go after either enemies or enemy missiles, basically. So we'll cover a missile boat later, or in this case, Falcon will also be covered by these missiles, pretty much. So either way, you're just kind of delaying. You're tanking, in a sense that you're just making it harder for them to do damage to you. And the last one, the third ability, is the Splitter, which basically essentially attacks 4 targets in front of you, basically. That way, kind of just dealing more damage to everyone in front of you, basically. So they either get out of the way or tank it back. And overall, he has a main sort of basically energy cannon, kaboom, which does AoE damage and a bit of lingering damage as well. And the shield is that one that gives them this. These 2 little drones prioritize targeting on the firing aiming computer, basically, that the mechs have. These are the drones that you can deploy, and they will attack the enemy and also intercept enemy missiles. And then you have the Converger, which will converge on targets that they see, and that's pretty much it. You could cancel some of these abilities and get faster cooldown instead if you cancel them earlier. But that's more or less it. And that's pretty much it for Hurricane. He is your go-to, like, if you're not about the DPS or the standstill of a Tricera, or if Tricera is already taken, a Hurricane is also a good pick because he will just take the aggro away. That way your Tricera or any other DPS can just kind of do their own thing. Or you need someone to guard the objective. He's there. He's just not going to die very quickly. He's a very resilient guy. I've personally spent at least 5 minutes healing a Hurricane who was effectively getting shot at by at least 5 different enemies. He was not having none of it. He was pretty much fine. Half the time I was almost concerned, but then I realized he's not really in any danger. He's just kind of doing his own thing. So that's Hurricane. Ultra Defender. Reasonable. I think you'll hear a lot of the community say that he's pretty okay. He's kind of like a go-to most of the time because he just does everything pretty much enough. So in defense, in the sort of objective-based game mode, he is your dub. He plays it. He's got things to carry with it, and also he looks pretty Gundam-esque. If you had to guess. Now, speaking of missile boats, we got Stego. Stego is a big lad, and also he's a missile boat. Looks like a beetle. I don't know. Stego is a missile boat. He has a few options on his own case. So, as his main weapons, he has rocket pods that fire heavy rockets, which are the unguided ones. Now, as for the rocket pod, which is your right click, continuous fire. So, you got more rockets, in case you needed more rockets. The number 1 ability is his jamming haze diffuser, which basically just makes it impossible for you to be auto-locked. Pardon me. It makes it impossible for him to be auto-locked by enemies by default, so you have to kind of manually aim at him. So, basically, it's a raw ability. And then he has his turret form, which increases lock-on range, has a shield in front of him, and also makes a limited movement. So, this is his kind of bread and butter. This is what he does. And that also unlocks Micro Missile, which fires at a selected target, basically giving him a freebie to bully a person of his choice. So, Stego is also another one of the heaviest dudes. I think he might be the slowest out of the bunch, but because he is so unnecessarily needed to be heavy, as you can see, he has a much more increased fire rate. He just does missile from medium and long range. Well, to put it simply here, let me just see. There you go. Even from almost half a kilometer away, he still has range to kind of slap your shit. So, he is just that. He is a missile boat. As Armor Core fans will definitely be able to tell you, this is probably something you'll hate the most because, well, you thought you escaped them. You didn't. Not much to say about Stego, personally. I mean, the way you sort of counter him is just kind of beat the life, just kind of push him, basically. If you have any, we'll cover a bit. If you have like let's say, a Vulcan, Vulcan definitely can push his shit in because he's up close to him. He's not going to do much to him. So, if you're like a melee guy, and we'll cover another melee brawler as well, Aleseness can also probably push his case in because, well, Aleseness is basically just brawling with a few ranged options as well. So, Stego is basically your danger from afar, which will absolutely rock your shit, but if you get in close to him, he becomes less and less of an issue, because the more he moves, the less he is effective. The less he moves, the more he can actually do things, because he can get that extra range across the map. Now then, you don't like Falcon, you need a bit more oomph. There you go. We have Sky Raider. Nondescript, Starscream, Sky Raider mech. So, a little bit different. They both kind of do the same thing, but the thing is, Sky Raider is a bit more heavier, a bit more robust, and also not as fast. Now, he gets an energy auto cannon, which you hold charge to increase damage, and partial damage penetrates armor. He has energy missiles, so that's his right click, and jamming missile, which just kind of is an inconvenience. Honestly, it's probably one thing you'll spam the most from. You have your aerial form and also missile dispenser. And essentially, micro missiles, you get your usual air rating. So you get to charge up your thing. And also your armor also destroys this. So basically you go through you destroy armor, but also deal damage to health as well. You have your missile. You have your jamming missile, which you will spam everywhere around you and without. So when it comes to your aerial form, you pretty much become a bit bigger jet. And also these little drones on the side also take a missile. They also basically take missiles out as well. So you are safe from something like a Stego for a bit. So you can get away with it a little bit. But don't really count on it, because snipers will still look at you and be like, I'm gonna destroy that. But that's pretty much it for the Sky Raider. I don't know what to say much about it. He's not bad. However, he can be, at least in my experience, be easily kind of countered if you're paying attention. And if you have a competent sniper on your team, he will just kind of play plink with him. Not to mention a Stego as well can probably rock him if he's overwhelmed or just kind of distracted. Not much else I can say. So, next up is Panaka. Another support. This is the other support that is in the game, and personally not my favorite. I don't like the way she plays, but she is a little bit more... It gives you a bit more aggression to work with. So, basically Panaka has a little more DPS than Illumine, and doesn't kind of bother with the finicky aspect of it. Now, she has a quick repair kit, which is her basic manual sort of... You got to think about this. This is what I don't like about her. Her main repair method, one of her main repair methods, is basically running up to someone and just kind of zapping them, basically. So, well, it is pretty fast. It is not really easy to do sometimes because you have to run around to a person. If that person is a very nimble, a very not want to stand still type of person, it's going to be difficult for you to actually heal them, which means you'll have to use your other ability, which is the repair drone on them. But if you have like a Tricera or like a Stego or like a Hurricane, just run up to them, repair the life out of them, dip. Simple. Now, yeah, your main sidearm, basically your main weapon for damage, is going to be the Splitter, which is just a bunch of lasers. Now, mind you, they're not accurate all that much, but they are good at just kind of pumping out damage up close and kind of medium-ish range. So, not the worst. Next up is your airdrop kit, aka you get to place a wall down, which you can use offensively and defensively. So you can do both of those, so you can kind of either block sidelines or just drop a wall on someone. You're just basically dropping a bunch of blocks from space. And also you have your emergency support drone as your third ability, which you can also use on yourself. Basically, it's like an AoE shield and also AoE blast. You can just shoot in all directions. And basically, I believe you can also put this on other friendlies as well, because I'm pretty sure I got this one put on me when I was playing another mech. So that is also it. So basically, she's not really not too fast like Illumine, but she is still faster than your bricks, as you can see. Accuracy is basically you hit everything at least a couple of times. Not to mention, and also you can use the wall. So yeah, for the most part, actually, this is mostly used for if you target an enemy. So yeah, you can see you can block a sight line, or you can just put a wall around them and box them in. But yeah, up close and stuff like this, because you can pretty much melt enemies up close, so you're not necessarily helpless like Illumine is up close, so you get a lot more to work with. So if you don't mind the lackluster support side of things, this is, again, not too bad. Personally, I don't like it because it's a bit more stingy on that behalf, but I wouldn't say it's bad. Still pretty good. Would be recommending for those more needing a little bit more oomph in their damage. And now we move on to my most beloved mech of all, the Panther. Now let me tell you kids, do you want to just be a crackhead? Do you just want to be high on something? Do you just want to go run at the enemy real bloody fast? Well, let me tell you, Panther does exactly that. So for reference, doesn't have any ranged weapons. He's just melee incarnate. That is what he is. He is a medium brawler that has no other purpose than being in melee. So basically what you're seeing here is essentially what it feels like to be assaulted by a panther. His whole shtick is just kind of running into you. At the moment, so what he has ability is, his first ability is his shield, but also if you press it one again, it will become melee weapons, like a base melee weapon. So you get to switch between those. His second ability is a lance, which he can charge up to charge at you. And as long as you got a lock on, he will go through you, and not to mention, as you can see, it goes through armor, so he gets that base armor pen, so he doesn't give a shit about how your armor, he just cares about how much health you got. And that's pretty much his only concern. His third ability is where he shines, kind of like gives you the idea. So he gets armor and shield regen. So let's say you just went on a spree and kind of went for a gamble. Let's say I want to run his fade. You spend a lot of energy. You just went through a lot of dashing. You pop a 2. You see you're regenerating energy. And you basically get another bit of... You get a little bit of high. You get a whiff of that. Smelling salts. You're up again. So you basically get to wear out a lot of enemies down from the fight. That is his main shtick. That is his main sort of benefit with this. So you don't really have to worry about run out of energy as long as you manage this, or don't overextend. He's my personal favorite because he just plays like he doesn't care. Or rather, he plays like you're just out there for blood. You can really run a lot of light mechs fade. And not to mention his third ability is a additional shield, which makes him mostly immune to melee attacks and staggers. And that's kind of his thing. So you get shield on top of shield basically. So, but that's kind of where his sort of advantage runs out. If he is spotted by a sniper or focused by an entire team, he loses a lot of effectiveness. He's not good at group fights. He's like more people versus one, unless they're very squishy. Personally, like that's, mind you, this is personal opinion and everything and stuff. So to me, this is kind of just he's very good in the sense that if you play him proportionately to try and kind of pick your fight. If you focus someone down, let's say you find a support or you find a stego in the background doing something, you run his fade, he's not gonna have a great time. He's either gonna be recovering or he's not gonna recover at all. And you're going to put him in the ground. That's a stego less to worry about for the entire team in the background. Or better yet, you find a Aquila, which is another sniper, or hope you find the Narukame, and you run her fade in one fell swoop, and now a sniper less. So he's basically your exploiter, your flanker, your I'm going to fuck up their backline, and I'm about to blow their back out type mood. So, I like it very much personally, and not to mention he's kind of smooth with it. And that's pretty much what Panther is. He's aggression, he is solo combat, he's just crackhead energy. There is no, like, if you don't commit to commit to an assault, you're not going to get much out of it. That's pretty much it basically for Panther. Basically, the best way I can tell you this, being kind of simple, is go in, go hard, go fast. At the moment when you commit to it, you're absolutely gonna have to no hesitation that one. And speaking of Aquila, we have another sniper. Aquila is the heavy sniper. Now, he is a lot slower than Narukame, and he is a little bit more tankier per se, but he is still more or less a sniper at heart, so he's still a backline bitch. So he has a few options, unlike Narukame. Instead of being stealthy, he is just defensive as fuck. So he has a defense field. He has a sniper, of course, but he has a defensive field. He has a claw drone, which basically immobilizes an enemy. So let's say a Sky Raider or a Falcon is running up to you, or perhaps a Panther is trying to run your fade because he wants your blood. You deploy the claw drone, and it will catch him. It'll paralyze him, and it will open him up to another shot, or perhaps you might want to line up a headshot and everything, so you can just get a freebie kill and maybe deal with them, or a teammate can deal with them for free. And the third ability, which makes him kind of stand out, is he gets to be airborne for a lot longer, basically. So his sniper, unlike Narukame, is just kind of heavy sniper, no charge up, no nothing, just kind of heavy sniper that has a lot more charge up, a lot more reload time per se. So this is basically his bread and butter. He gets to be airborne, so he gets to just kind of go up and be... he doesn't need high ground, he is the high ground. If there's a skybox, he'll probably be on top of it. And that's it. And he has the defensive shield, so in case someone does run up to him, he has this as a backup, and that's more or less it. Not much to say about Aquila. He is a pretty good usage. He gets the most use out of it. If you like sniping, if you like not being disturbed while sniping, this is Aquila. He's your go-to. He's pretty good on his own. Not much to say about him, but overall, you're gonna hate him if you're not him. So yeah, that much to say about Aquila. Yes, I am definitely taking a lot more time to talk about some mechs than others because I am absolutely biased, and there's a lot more to say about them because I've had a lot more passionate experience with them. Moving on to Inferno. Inferno is by some people in the community referred to as the inferior striker, inferior Hurricane. Because why? Because Hurricane studied defense in high school. Inferno studied damage. So, unlike Hurricane, for example, Inferno has 2 energy autocannons, which are also charge up and a bit of AoE. And for his first ability, he has a splitter, which basically locks up to 12 targets and also can intercept missiles as well, so he can do that as well. And again, similar to Hurricane, he's like his cousin basically, he's like his brother. And then you have reflector drones, which basically pinpoint a beam into someone of your choosing, locked on that is. And then you have a booster kit, which basically gives him energy regen and additional armor regen, and also dash and boost speed, and makes him untargetable during dashes. So overall, he gets a little bit more mobility to supplement the fact that he cannot tank the shit. So you can see he's very slow, but he has 2 autocannons, which are sizable. They charge up, bam bam. So this is his reflector drones, much like Hurricane. He has a lot more options to target. And this is the laser beam, and you can also fire main weapons while you're doing this. So on top of existing damage, you can kind of add on more damage. And should you need to speed up things, you basically go full Zendevistan on him. For Cyberpunk fans, it's going to be a dream come true. You get a mech with a Zendevistan, and you get the roleplay Atom Smasher. That is significantly taller than a person. So there you go. Not much to say again. Not much to describe about. Really Inferno. He's pretty much just a cousin of Hurricane, basically, like a brother, because they both pretty much have similar things. For example, see, this is the laser beam, basically. It's good for melting stuff, but you're also a lot harder to move around when you're doing this, so you're kind of committing to one place. And against Splitter, Hurricane has the same thing, except he does about 4, and Inferno does 12. So that's probably the main difference between them. And he gets his Devistan. There we go. Not much to say about that one either. So that's pretty much it. But again, people mostly do not think highly of Inferno. Personally, I like the way he looks and everything, but that's pretty much about it. And those are the mechs. That's pretty much it. I think it's 13, isn't it? That's it pretty much. So these are the mechs that are currently in the game. Not sure if they're going to add any more. But this is pretty much it for that nutshell. So, and I'll show some combat in combat here. Post-editing, mind you. So, when it comes to combat, it is, at the beginning, it does feel a bit slow than what you're used to. But eventually, it does kind of feel like it kind of clicks, where you're suddenly moving a lot faster. You're doing a lot more different things, depending on what you play. Like, for example, Panther gameplay can go from you're slowly moving around into position to I'm now fighting 5 people. I don't know what's happening. I'm scared. Please, where is my boy at? So, that's pretty much all I can say. The gameplay will probably give you a bit more idea of it. So hopefully when the game comes out, I'll make another one of these just to kind of give another biased review after this. So hopefully it's going to give you an idea for this game, and also hopefully you like this game a bit more to see what is kind of working for you. So anyway, let me know in the comments down below if I should make a review about any other game in this case, or if you have any other questions about things that I might not have covered. Mind you, again, this is like just kind of like a crash course, because again, the game is going to be temporarily open for open beta up until the 13th. So I just figured to make this just in case for those that don't have the time or don't have I just want to say this is not exactly a time conducive video, but point is, if this is kind of just like a nutshell basically. So just gonna give you like an overview. So anyway, hope to see you guys later. Take care.